It's June 5th, 2021, and welcome to episode 59 of the BABYMETAL podcast. We gather in the podcast Discord server on alternate weeks to discuss news and thoughts on the past and future projects of BABYMETAL. We invite you to join us whether you're a longtime fan or have only just arrived. I'm Paul, and I'm joined by Kevin.
Hey, welcome back, everybody.
And Maggie.
Howdy, 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 howdy.
Hi.
All right, so the main topic today is going to be to talk about some interviews with Kobametal, in particular the large one that was in Hedoban 24. We fairly recently got a translation of that, and we'll talk through that. But in fact, actually, there's been a ton of news, too, to talk about ahead of time. So we can kind of go through those various things first and then get back to the interviews.
Yes.
But, okay, so let's see. One thing that made it sort of at the top of this list of news that we forgot to mention before, but at this point I almost it feels like it's such distant past. But so there's going to be a live stream end of June, right? That was the big announcement.
26th, I think.
Yep, June 26th.
Yes.
And they initially released a certain amount of merch for it, and we talked about that. But then there was actually a second round of merch that somehow we never got to talk about. I believe, which is weird. But so there was among the things that there were was this little gong and packing tape.
The gong is awesome. I got sucked into that really hard.
Yeah, I mean, I was very pleased by that. So it's probably one of the coolest things that I've seen from them. But yeah, so there's this little mini gong that comes with a sticker pack, so you can put the stickers on the gong. They sort of match the episode circles, so they match the gongs from the shows. And then there's this packing tape, which sort of looks like crime scene tape. But you will have by now probably you will have seen an instance of this around a barrel at the Budokan shows. Oh, and also they have ear protectors.
Yes, I definitely ordered me one of those.
Yeah. And for those of you wondering why packing tape, that's actually not uncommon merchandise in Japan for music groups. Believe it or not.
Didn't Perfume release a set at one point or something?
Perfume's done it. Several other groups have done it. It's weird. I don't understand why it's a thing, but it's a real thing. It's not something completely off the wall random.
I guess it'd be kind of like those fancy deco tapes like you get for writing notes and things like that. They always have those fancy little tiny little tapes that have all sorts of different things. I guess it'd be kind of along those lines.
Maybe. It's not tiny though. It's like the size of a roll of duct tape. So it's not
right. And it's also not removable.
I totally realize that, but I'm just saying it could be related in regards to the little deco. There's a specific name for them and I cannot think of it right now. But it could be something along those lines too.
Maybe when we're back to having
why they release those sort of things.
Maybe when we're back to having in-person shows again, the first person to pass out at the after party is going to get duct taped to the ceiling by the official tape.
Perhaps, yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, what do you actually use this for?
Well, Paul, like everything else you buy, you put it in a box and never look at it again.
I guess that's pretty much it. Yeah.
I was just considering, if I sent something from me to other people, if I had that tape on there, they'd be like, "Oh, hey, I know who this is from."
Yeah,
because everybody knows that I like BABYMETAL, so it'd be very obvious.
Use it to wrap a gift.
Yeah, it would be. It would be kind of fun to use it for real, around a package or something. But at the same time, then it's gone.
Yeah.
Actually, I put a second order in for some other stuff, which we'll mention here in a moment. And I did order a second set of that packing tape.
Nice.
Very good.
That's good. Now you have one to use and one to store.
No, I'll use both of them. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Perfect. Another thing they had, this I mentioned it a second ago, but they had this. They have these ear protectors, like little. I think they're like hi-fi earplugs, basically.
Yeah.
But they have on the front of it. It says 10 BABYMETAL ears protector, which I thought was very funny. This is just a comedy group, really.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I got a good chuckle. Thunder plugs are. I don't know a whole lot about earplugs, but I've heard of thunder plugs and I've heard of people using them. So I think they're actually pretty good.
They released earplugs before a few years back, I think.
Yeah, but they weren't thunder plugs. Like this is a name brand. Were they? I don't think they were
I'm
thunder
pretty
plugs.
sure they were thunder plugs back then
Maybe.
too. Because I remember that I was like really upset that I didn't get them the last time, and that's why I had to get them this time. I was like,
right.
Because they had a little clip top on the top of them, and I don't think they were themed either. They were just straight up just baby metal earplugs.
But I feel like somehow the gongs deserve more attention. Although I don't know what else to say about them, but that is definitely like the coolest thing.
It is really neat.
Yet.
I didn't get it. If anything, I would just want the Legend M sticker. That's really all I would want from it. But I kind of have to be a little bit more minimalist in my collecting stuff. So, but
it's not about spending money or buying merchandise. It does not make you a fan or less of a fan.
Exactly. But I will say that it's taken a lot of like stress and just gumption to not buy the hoodie because it is so cool. It looks like the thing that the people got from Legend S, that pullover with the hood on top of it, except for it's 10 years Baby Metal themed. And it's really cool, and it's supposed to be like super duper oversized, but it's a pullover hoodie and not a zip up, and it makes me just it looks so cool.
I'm right there with you on that one. I don't like pullovers. I
can't do pullovers. Just mainly just because it's like anytime it's like, okay, well, I want to take it off. It's like, I don't want to take it all the way off. I just, I get warm, and then you have to like struggle with the t-shirt that you have underneath. And it's like, oh, well, nope, it's too cold. Now I got to put it back on. Yep. Whereas with a hoodie, with a zip up hoodie, you can just unzip it and be like, oh, I feel a little bit better now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But everyone's got their thing. So, I know there are some people out there that would prefer to have the pullover hoodies, but I am a zip up person. So, but it still looks pretty freaking wicked. So yeah, that was pretty neat. And then of course there was a t-shirt that came along with it too. So I definitely got that.
I don't remember if I got the shirt. I probably did. The stuff doesn't ship till August, and we bought it all more than a month ago.
Yeah.
And even then, I think it's end of August.
I don't even remember.
It's
basically whenever you order stuff from Baby Metal, it's basically Christmas. At any random time. You never know.
I only remember that because recently I got a new bookshelf in my living room, and I live alone. So I have now a place for a little merch shrine where I did not before. And I remember putting stuff on it, and I left a spot. I was like, oh, the gong would look awesome right here. And then of course, a couple of days go by. I was like, wait, I convinced myself that the gong shipped this month. So I went and double checked, and it is like the end of August. And I was very disappointed.
Aw.
Anyway, so as the summer ends, we will see these things, no doubt.
As the summer ends, you will get a hoodie.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
hey, that's a perfect timing, though. You get into the fall, and then you get a hoodie. Yeah. It's like, hey.
It doesn't get cold enough here in California for
fair enough.
Hoodies and long sleeve things until like November.
I'm going to figure that out here soon because now I live close to DC, and we've had some weird weather within the last month. It went from like being 80 degrees one day and then drop like to 60 the next. I'm just like, well,
that's horrible.
I just put my winter clothes away. What the crap?
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to see how the weather is over this far over east and slightly north. So that'll be fun. But I've got hoodies, so it's all good.
Yeah.
This particular one is actually, they call it a damaged hoodie. I'm not sure exactly what it is that's supposed to be damaged about it. I guess it's like a worn design.
The printing is distressed.
Yeah.
I think distressed would have been better English.
Yeah. All right, that's good.
The deluge of merch continues.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess we can move to the next bit, which is actually this is super recent and super sudden. So like I went to sleep one night and I woke up and there was an announcement of a box set vinyl series for the one only that had been announced and went on sale and sold out all while I was asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reason behind that though. There was actually a reason behind that though. And I didn't realize it until I did a little bit more research. It was limited to 100 copies.
100. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna talk about this thing because I'm a record person.
Yes.
You can now get everything they have ever done as far as like a big show live on vinyl, and that's super exciting. And lots of it has never been released on vinyl or never released separately, which is also very exciting. Yeah,
yes!
Big Fox, 5 Fox, Trilogy, you name it. If it's a big show or was a Blu-ray, there's now a vinyl set for it.
Yes.
Like Paul mentioned, overnight when they announced all this stuff, one of the items was a one-only exclusive that was limited to 100. You got 10 of these albums in a metal storage container, printed with Fox God Crew. Now the sticker shock on this is pretty ridiculous. It was it's about $1,000 US for this set. And I got to admit, when I woke up and saw that in my post wake up haze, I was shocked that they released something that was $1,000, 100,000 yen.
Mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts when you saw that?
Almost, it's kind of nice not to have had to make that decision.
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit more, but what were your guys' reactions when you saw the 100,000 yen item go up and be gone?
Like, I don't have that kind of money. I'm glad it sold out beforehand.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, man, whatever.
Yeah, and I guess that's it's ambitious.
Yes, very.
The thing that makes me hesitate is that we're all waiting for the actual Budokan, stuff, whatever it is, the Blu-ray set, and this is it's a really big thing to try to wedge in before that.
Yeah. So only 100,000 yen, 10 records, 10 albums. So
26 actual discs.
Yeah, 26 actual pieces of vinyl. So when I actually, fell back asleep and then woke back up, had some coffee and had time to process this, and was over the sticker shock, and was over everybody crying on Twitter because they sold $1,000 thing. It's actually a pretty good deal. And I'm going to hold that as fact. So what you get 10 albums, 26 individual vinyls. For example, the Trilogy set is 11 vinyls by itself. I did the math on this. There are 2 included things we don't know anything about. The 10 BABYMETAL Legend special guest pass. We don't know what that is. And some other stay metal. They call it an analog board.
Yeah, well, that's another vinyl, and it's almost certainly the Rock Macon show.
Yeah, probably the Rock Macon show.
Well, it did say it had 9 unreleased something or others. I can't remember what the wording they used, but it was like 9 tracks of something that's been unreleased.
Yeah.
And then 1 specific track that was recorded somewhere, quote, sacred. So that's, So it's something different.
I don't think it was tracks, though. I think it's the actual things. There 9 of the things were not released before, and the 10th one was the secret
right
vinyl.
Oh, okay. Right. I might have misread it then. And of course, interpretation being Google. Thanks.
Yeah.
Analog board, by the way, is just how they often refer to a vinyl record.
Right. So that's cool. So I didn't include these in my math. When I did the math, it works out to about $40 US per individual vinyl disc. That's a pretty good deal. It's a hair on the high side for an individual disc for vinyl. To put that into perspective, my Foo Fighters greatest hits was 60, almost $70 US after tax. And that's 2 albums, 16 songs, 8 on each side, something like that. So there isn't a whole lot of Koba tax on this. The box itself is probably worth $50 to $100. It's a pretty nice box. I searched around for something similar, and that's about what I got for a metal storage container that, of course, isn't branded. And then you have the limited factor of it being only 1 in 100 sold. So $1,000, I would have bought it. If it was available, I probably would have bought it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
I
the
might
value
have.
is pretty good. The only thing that I'm disappointed in is that it would have been cooler if you could have chose the 10 albums that they put in it in addition to the extras. Because some of them I'm just not interested in. The Chosen 7, I don't really care if I have vinyl of. I already have like 4 copies of Legend Metal Galaxy, or Metal Galaxy on vinyl.
Right.
So it would have been cooler if I could supplement those with something I didn't already have. But even still, it's a cool item. Once you look past the sticker shock, it's a decent value.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a collector. It's the ultimate collector's item for a group like this, for a music group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially if you've been with them for a hot minute too.
But it did sell out immediately. So,
yeah.
And yeah, so this had, it seems to me like these are largely things that were already the one before. So it's like Budokan Black Knight that was never released except as part of the Budokan. Right. And, the World Tour 2014 Apocalypse and World Tour in Japan, these are also the one only Legend M.
Yeah.
Right.
So, none of these things that we've talked about so far are things like Tokyo Dome.
Right.
However, yeah. So I don't know if you wanted to keep talking about that, but
so
we're not done yet.
No. So you can buy all these separately. Everything that's in that box you can buy separately and more. CD Japan, a lot of them come with a custom hand towel as well.
I think they do on Smart too.
I didn't. I did not see anything on that. But then again, the only thing I ordered was the Big Fox Festival one, because that was my very first show that I ever went to, and I literally don't have anything from that show. I mean, other than maybe the one merch with the little I can't think of what they're called, the mask danglies. I can't think of what they're called, but I have that
danglies.
Yeah, I don't know what they're called. There's an official name for them, but I have that, and that's literally it. Like, I don't have the video for it. I don't have any audio for it. And so when I saw that they were releasing that by itself, not with the 5 Fox Festival, but Big Fox Festival by itself, I had to get it. And I'm excited because I just got my vinyl stuff in today. So I have a frame for it. I have a frame for it. And I also have a case, like a replacement case, because I want to hang the vinyl cover up on the wall, but I want to listen to it.
Yeah.
So you can't buy more than one copy unless you're buying it from somebody else, and I don't really want to go through all that. So I was just like, I am ready for it to come to me because I really want to listen to it, because it's the only thing that I would have from that show. So I'm really, really excited about it. And I'm glad that I'm a member of the one, because it was a one only set disc, which it also came with the 100 set as well.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really grateful for that. And I'm getting a new vinyl player, because the current one that I have, the speakers are completely blown out on it somehow. I think there might have been like a storm or something, and it might have just fried it, which makes me sad. And it plays faster than it really should as well. So
that's fun.
I got a new vinyl player coming just for that too.
Nice.
Plus, when my birthday happened, I got both Metal Galaxy and the 10 BABYMETAL years on vinyl too. So I'll have to listen to those as well. Yeah. So I'm excited about that.
Those are great
vinyls.
records.
Yeah. There's a lot of vinyls I have to listen to, and I picked up a lot of different stuff as well. And I do kind of want to listen to my Fantasia again.
Nice. Well, we'll have to chat offline and about vinyls. That'll be fun.
I'm not like super into them, but like it's
I'll get you there.
Neat. Yeah. I don't know if I really want to throw all the money again, but we'll see. There's been a few here or there that I've picked up, but anywho, but yeah, so that whole entire thing is actually really cool, and I'm grateful that they are releasing all those on, because like you said, there are some that have not had audio releases that are now being released on vinyl, and that's really cool. This is probably one of their better ideas. I agree. It's a little more on the pricier side, but it's still neat. So
yeah, I spent some money and got some of the older ones for sure. I'm pretty excited to get those and listen to them.
Yeah. I still have yet to get actually a record player though. But yeah. So
We'll get you there.
on so all of these are available on Osmart, and the ones that are not the one only come with this 200 millimeter by 200 millimeter hand towel, which is the same size as the same design as the cover.
Kind of jealous.
And so all the ones that are on CD Japan and probably Amazon too, but at least CD Japan also come with those. So basically, anything that you can get from, anything that you can get where you're not required to be a the one member, also comes with these little towels, but they're little. I mean, like that's microscopic. Not very big. So, anyway, yeah, it's a little sad that the actual the ones don't. But
yeah, I was kind of sad when I was just looking up. I'm like, I really would love to have one of the big Fox Festival, and that would have been really cool. But it is what it is. Not that I need more things.
Yeah, I mean, and I think among the things that among the possible covers that you can get, I was the 5 Fox Festivals one, which that one is actually sort of unique among the other ones in that it's kind of like a combination. It's just sort of a couple of songs from each of the 5 Fox Festivals. It's not a one show, but the cover is different. I mean, like it's the cover is a design that doesn't really exist on anything else. I mean, even when you get the Blu-ray set, doesn't have that design on it.
Right.
So it would have been tempting, but in the end, I was thinking, well, that would be just like a poster, basically. 5.5 K yen poster. So
yeah, that was part of the reason why I didn't want to buy a second copy of it, because I was just like, I'm not going to pay $55 for something that's going to be on my wall, unless it's specifically meant to be on the wall.
you take the vinyl out and you put it in a plastic sleeve. That way you can hang the cover.
That's what I'm doing. I got the replacement sleeves for it just so I could do that.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. You don't need to get two.
That's what I did. Oh yeah, no. Yeah, I don't have that kind of money.
So I think one of the ones and actually it sold out. It sold out on Osmart right away. Was Legend 9997. And IDZ, Legend IDZ, which both of those are interesting because they have covers on them that don't exist in other shows, right?
Yeah. So I got those on CD Japan.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to get Legend 99, 97, all the old super old ones.
Yeah.
I know. I'm very excited. I didn't buy anything newer than Legend M on vinyl. And I'm very excited to get all this old stuff on vinyl.
Because the animation song would be on one of them, I'm sure. And
they are
White. Yeah. What is it? White Love. I think.
Yeah. White Love will be there. Chakotay Love and Love Machine.
Love Machine.
I'm very excited to get those.
So I think the cover affected my choice a bit. So I got Legend 99, 97, but I passed on IDZ because the cover didn't seem good enough.
I could care less about the cover. I'm gonna take it out and put it right in the record player.
Yeah, well, and for me, what's gonna end up happening is I'm gonna just bring up iTunes and hit play. So it doesn't matter.
No, we'll get you a record player. We'll have this conversation.
I also got the forum. That's one that I just because I was there. It does, even though we have that design on like shirts and things and posters and stuff. I don't have it on the 12-inch by 12-inch square. So
yeah. Well, like I said, I was thinking about like stuff I already had on audio in some senses, and I already have the Legend M, the 1 edition, the Forum, the 1 edition, and Metal Galaxy, the 1 edition. So I was just like, well, there's really no point in getting all 3 of those on vinyl. And so, like I said, the only other show that I had been to was Big Fox. That was my first show. So I was like, well, I just gotta get this one. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that being one of the highlights of this whole thing. Because it's true that, I mean, as you had detected, Big Fox was very rarely separable from the other ones. So I mean, if I could have gotten it by itself, I'm sure I would have.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
would have, like, if the Blu-ray was by itself, I would have bought it. But with
Yeah.
it being with that whole entire set, and it's like what, $325 US, I
Yep.
just I
Yep.
can't fathom paying that much for something. I can't.
That has got to be, among their special deluxe fancy the one editions, that it's got to be the worst. It's just
It
it's just
is,
a box
because it's
with
not
a bunch
even
of Blu-rays.
it's not even the one edition. It's
Oh, it
just
is.
a set.
Well, it is. I mean,
Was it?
But yeah.
Did it require? I didn't realize that. Well, it's not sold out. That's why. I guess maybe there's probably a reason for that.
Yeah, it's no photo book. I think if I remember right, each disc itself had like a single photo in it.
Yeah, it had a postcard in each disc. Yeah,
Mhm.
that was specific to that show. So yeah.
Anyway,
And Huskies, but yeah.
I just need to say that I am very distraught that they found my biggest weakness and exploited it.
so yeah, the spies have been working overtime. But okay, so one somewhat minor bit of news is that there's another Metal Hammer cover issue. And I think there are probably a couple magazines that we haven't talked about, but Metal Hammer is, first of all, just recently released, and second of all, has several editions of the cover, so that makes it noteworthy enough to mention. So, and the cover editions are sort of the obvious ones. There's a Sue one, there's a Maul one, and then there's a combined one. And I think the combined one, for some reason, the combined one is the special edition. I don't quite understand it, but at any rate.
Well, I guess the ones that are being sold directly from Metal Hammer actually comes with I guess they call it the size like A4 or whatever. Basically the size of the magazine, but it's a print of one of the BABYMETAL like t-shirts. It's the one of the I don't even remember who the artist is. Is it IK? I think. But it's basically like a picture of one of the t-shirt designs from within the last few years. And I had to get that one. Although that one, apparently, that bundle is only limited to 300 releases of it. And I had to get it because I've been waiting for an actual, like, physical, purchasable version of one of those BABYMETAL t-shirts because I love their designs. And I would literally, if they offered posters on their website, not BABYMETAL, but the artist who does that specific set, I would literally buy every single one of them because they are just gorgeous. I love those t-shirt designs.
I hope that it doesn't turn out to be disappointing. I suspect that it's going to be sort of like magazine print, thin, wrinkly poster. But
no, it's they did this one time before when it was like BABYMETAL Reach for the Stars or something, as right before Metal Galaxy came out. And they did another limited release, and I think it was, I don't remember how many of those ones there was, but it was basically it was more like a harder like stock paper. And it had a fox that was kind of like looked like it was embedded in the stars and stuff, and it had little constellation and stuff. It was really cute. And I do have that one. Actually, I have two of them.
Yeah, I do too for some reason. I don't know why I have two.
Yeah,
but
well, I had one given to me as a gift for something. I can't remember what it was for. But I did something for somebody and they were like, here, have this as a thank you. I'm like, okay. And then there was also another version of that was in another bundle that had more of the like the shiny stuff on it that was limited. So I'm assuming, because that was also I believe that was also a Metal Hammer magazine. So my greater assumption is that it would be the same quality as that last one, the kind of thicker stock paper being printed on. So I don't know.
Hopefully, yeah.
Hopefully,
you're right. I had forgotten about that one, but that one was, I didn't. The design I actually didn't like all that much. Now that you mentioned that there were two versions of it, I think I actually have four. No, that because I think I probably have two of the special one and two of the non-special one, and they differ only in like a little bit of how much color is on it, and then one of them is numbered.
Yeah.
But,
one came
anyway,
in a patch.
That was distant past. I can't remember that far back.
It's only been 2 years ago. Has it been 2 years? Oh my gosh, has it been 2 years? Oh man. sometimes it just my sense of time is just shot.
All right. Anyway, well, there's a little thing. I suppose we can talk about the little thing. The Nikkei Entertainment Power Rankings. They appear every year, and we have gotten a new update of these. I sort of understand them. They basically ask, have you heard of these people and are you interested in them? And so on the babymetalnews.com site, there's Faku has put together some nice graphs and statistics and things like that, showing upward trending graphs, mostly with a little dip there in the middle.
Nice. Yes, I was actually kind of happy to see that, because I know a lot of people have been kind of complaining that really haven't been doing a whole lot within the last year, and with COVID and stuff of that nature, but yet they're slowly on the rise. They're still well known, and actually it's better than it ever has been. I don't know, I find that as being a positive. So yeah.
I think anybody who says they haven't been doing anything over the last year has been living under a rock and doesn't understand the world or what other groups are doing.
Yeah.
BABYMETAL has done by far a lot more than similarly sized groups anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And actually, one other aspect of this is it could be that the height of the 2021 bar might have a lot to do with Kohaku. I mean, one event could have bumped that up quite a bit. So.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I mean, that is a very easily recognizable show in Japan that's pretty much broadcast all over the country, I think.
Yeah, the whole country watches it.
Yeah.
Right. So that will bump up the recognition for sure, and then a little of the interest.
Yeah, I even got a message from a Japanese friend of mine who I tutored her husband here in the U.S., and she's like, I saw BABYMETAL and Kohaku and they won and it was fantastic. And I know you love BABYMETAL, so I wanted to let you know. And I'm like, thank you.
Oh, that's great.
I appreciate you. Oh, she's a sweet lady. But she's like, yeah, I was in Japan. And so I got to watch it with my mother. And so we saw it and their performance was fantastic. I'm like,
oh, that's
yes. It was awesome. It was cute.
Oh, actually, there was a couple things that I meant to say about the Metal Hammer issue that I hadn't, not about like the different editions and stuff that it comes in, but actually the contents of it is really quite good. They have, people have gotten them, and so we've seen what's in them, but there are a lot of pages. There's just sort of a lot of text in there.
History, actually. They actually like had someone specific go out and do like a crap ton of research on them, which was great to hear.
And they have little page long interviews with Herman Lee and Rob Halford. They have a little. There was a thing where I barely remember this, but they I guess solicited basically pictures of, like selfies of yourself with your stuff, right?
Yeah, it was on Twitter. They posted something like that, and I had wanted to kind of participate in that, but I was like, I know there's going to be a lot more people with a lot more stuff, and I'm just like, I'll just whatever. But there was some recognizable faces in there from pretty much everywhere in the world, which is pretty cool. So they published a couple pages of those. Yeah, so that was actually really neat to see. There's another a friend of Kevin and I who was even interviewed, I think, I don't know if his stuff actually got posted anywhere exactly, but he even had an interview because of all like his tattoos and stuff. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean Metal Hammer specifically interviewed this person?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Someone from the editorial, he posted his tattoos because he's like, I've got tattoos. And he's like, the dude was like, that's really, really cool. And I guess they delved into like his other stuff that he's done, which he's done some writing things, which is what he does for a living. And then they were just like, dude, this is really cool. Can we like interview you about all this stuff? And he's like, heck yeah. So I haven't really heard much more about it from him on that, but But I think it was either maybe on the podcast or something. I don't know. I'll have to actually ask him because, like I said, I haven't really heard anything more about that.
Yeah, Metal Hammer does have a podcast. That's what you're referring to.
Mm-hmm,
Because
mm-hmm.
I think they did discuss this, putting this issue together a little bit on that. I didn't listen to it myself, but I'd seen references
I've not
to it.
either. No.
The thing I was going to say, I don't think I said this already, was that they also have an interview with Rob Halford in which he expresses interest in collaborating with them.
Again.
Yes, needed. It was awesome the first time.
Yeah, and they actually had a little spread on merch. You know, like some
the
sort
ultra
of
rare
rare
things. Yeah.
And did we talk about that? I feel I think I
Nope.
have this feeling like we talked about it, but maybe I'm just remembering some other conversation.
I mean, they did have something like that in the Katakawa magazine of like super ultra rare merchant stuff, which I know that like the sunglasses are one of them. And then the cloak from IDZ, and of course all the baby metal merch.
Yeah,
those are always really rare. And I can't remember some other stuff.
Basically, the main thing I just wanted to highlight is that this Metal Hammer issue is good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, like even apart from the editions and the covers, it's a pretty significant thing.
It's worth the time to get it if you have the opportunity to get it, which there's many different ways that you can, whether it's Amazon or there's, I think, like Newsstand UK. There's also another like My Celebrity something or other that you can order magazines from. So, you know, there's many different ways you can get it. And of course, if you're in Japan, there's Amazon Japan. And I think they're actually starting to sell it on ASmart now. So yeah, so definitely worth getting if you have a moment to read.
What is left? We have, well, I guess two little minor points of news and a big point of news. There's another record store day. BABYMETAL has participated in a couple of these record store days in the past. Metal Resistance Red Edition was sold in the record store day in Europe in 2017, and the Distortion single was a record store day. I think it was maybe the Distortion, like the red one or something. There was some special edition that was record store day only in the US in 2018.
I think
and now they're doing one in Japan in 2021. And it's actually pretty cool. Actually, the I don't know how easily gotten these will be. Probably not very, but
no.
what they're selling is vinyl editions of the 3 albums, but they're picture discs that have basically the cover of the album on the disc. So not just a color, but an actual image.
That's different.
They look nice.
Yeah.
Those would be ones that you would take out of the special case and then put them in the vinyl only like frames. Those would be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, these would be sort of sad to just like leave in an anonymous cover.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah, those are pretty neat. I do still need the first 2 albums.
What?
Now that I've got the third one on vinyl, now I'm like,
I see.
You gotta have them all.
Yeah. Dang it.
Yeah, that is the problem. Like it's you either have to just be at peace with having just a couple, or you have to go insane.
Yep.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, it's not hard to get the other 2, but I know there's like special editions of a couple of them, and I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. For both the first 2, you can get them in black and in red.
Yep.
And Metal Galaxy comes in like 5 different colors or something.
Yeah, the translucent, the glow in the dark one, I regret thoroughly not getting it. Like, I really still wholeheartedly regret not getting it. But yeah.
Let's see. I put on here, I don't know if this is interesting. It seemed interesting to me, but Tenso is now, like, Tenso can ship with Japan Post again. Finally.
Thank goodness.
So
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, this is just like as of a couple days ago. So they said there's a big backlog, you know, so it may take a while to get started again, but yeah, that's good. I mean, it makes a big difference.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well,
So,
it saves a bit of money too. I mean,
yeah, well, that was the difference to which I referred.
yeah. Well, yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean, I think I had a couple of magazines that were there, and I mean, it's like half as much as DHL to get those.
Hmm.
So
Exactly.
okay,
Mm.
let's move on to the big news. There's actually like a big bit of news beyond all this little news, which is that we've now seen the first of the 3 installments on WoW of the Budokan shows.
Mhm.
So that's and you know we didn't know what that was going to be. This is they're split up into 3. The first one, I think we maybe knew. I don't know if we knew that it was going to be sort of concentrating on the first couple, like you know the first couple of the 10 shows. But we know that the next one is concentrating on I think the first through the 6th, and the last one is the 7th through the 10th. So
That sounds right.
yeah, so they're definitely split up by shows. But we had a half-hour airing of something, and it turned out that it was actually just like a self-contained show. I mean, they it was 5 songs altogether, I think, yeah. But it was just it was just there was no narration, there was no anything. It was just sort of like from the beginning to the end. I was fairly pleased by that.
Mhm. I actually didn't watch it.
I haven't seen it either.
What?
Well, I'm just waiting for. I'm just waiting for the 26th. I'll just sit and watch it at that point, and call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, so there's I think we've had this question ever since we knew all these different ways that it's going to be broadcast. But I mean, we don't know how any of this is going to overlap, right? I mean, like so the thing that
Right.
the thing that apparently only I saw um, uh, may not actually be in the live stream and may not actually be in the next thing that. So WoW actually plays their second thing, I think, just before the live stream. So it would be a little weird if it turned out that they had exactly the same stuff in them.
Right. It would.
But who knows?
Mhm. Only the Fox God.
Okay, so maybe I will talk just a second about that since I'm the only
You
one who
probably
saw
should.
But
Yeah. Sorry.
so it started off with fairly dramatic intro to In the Name of, right? And so they had sort of drummers sort of like they had in Legend Us, arranged around the stage, and they were drumming on these barrels. The barrels were shooting sparks, and they had around them this tape. So that's what I was talking about. Like you can sort of see what the packing tape looks like because they decorated the barrels with them. And so it was yeah, very impressive. They set it up. I think we've seen how this stage looked, right? So it's like a big sort of I don't know if it's an octagon. I don't know. It's a big sort of circle kind of in the middle, and it has a couple of sections that can raise up. And so I'm not quite sure about how the Budokan is normally set up. There is a there's kind of like a circular screen, like it's just sort of it's a sports venue or something, is it not?
Yeah, the Budokan was actually originally built in like the 1970s for when is an Olympic arena essentially for like sumo
Sumo.
wrestling and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so very prominent.
So in the chat, Dragon Fury said it was a judo venue.
Judo, yeah, there Dragon Fury noted it. But yeah, it's a very prominent, important place.
Yeah, so there's a big cylindrical screen that sort of hangs from the top, and I think that's a permanent part of Budokan. Like I
Yes.
think that
Yeah, because it was also in Budokan, the other Budokan show.
right, but I mean like also I think in other people's shows and stuff, um, and so. But it seems like it can raise up and down because at a certain point they had this sort of like birthday cake looking stage where you have the circle and then there's like a raised part in the middle, but then it actually meets up with that cylinder from the ceiling. So it's actually all
Oh
one
wow.
tall thing. It seems like they are able to raise that up and down. So at certain points they were underneath it. Like so they did well okay so they did In the Name of that was big enough impressive, and they went to Distortion and then Papaya, and then they sort of skipped ahead in the show and did Homage Nai, which is cool. So they did at least something that was unusual. I think Homage is one of the ones that gets switched out, right?
I think so.
But and in that one, they were actually, they were underneath the middle cylinder, right? So Joachim Broden was up above them, and they were underneath. So it does seem like, I don't think it was that the middle went all the way up to meet a stationary cylinder. I think they could raise the cylinder up and down. Anyway, we can look at that, in the other shows, other playings of this show too. But and then after that, they sort of skipped ahead to the last thing before the encore, which was Road of Resistance, and this was clearly night 2 of Road of Resistance, because what ended up happening was that Sumetal got stuck. She got too into like participating with the crowd, and the other two went back into the middle, but she got stuck around the outside when the bridges went down, so she couldn't get back to where she was supposed to be.
That's
and
awesome.
and they played it on WoW.
That's
so you
awesome.
see her like almost fall. They sort of strategically did not show her during that part, but they did. She just sort of like proceeded as if she was supposed to be there on the outside, even though it's fairly clear that she was not. So, but I think you only actually know that it was an error, like if you know the other ones, like if you've seen other ones play it. So I kind of wonder, if WoW was going to play other Roads of Resistance so that we can see the difference or not, or maybe this was the only one they're going to do.
That's a weird thing to say. Other Roads of Resistance.
Yeah. But another sort of highlight of this, when so initially they come out with the flags or whatever, and then they dispose of the flags. And the way in this case, the way they disposed of the flags, they're all standing on these bridges that connect the outer ring to the inner circle, and they sort of toss the flag down into the pit that's underneath them, and some staff member gets it. But for some reason, I don't think it's just a perspective thing, but it really did kind of look like Sue just like harpooned somebody down there with this thing. Like, the other two just sort of like dropped it gently into the pit for somebody to grab, and Sue just sort of like it really did seem like she was hunting fish or something. But so hopefully whoever was down there is okay.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, it looks very good though. I think the overall the editing was good. It was not nearly as cutty as Legend Metal Galaxy was. So
that's good.
Oh, that is good. Yeah,
looking forward to this. Yeah, and there's a little bit of a teaser at the end that showed a little bit of karate and Gimme Chocolate too. But
oh, that's cool.
It was only a half hour. It was quite short, but
right.
Okay, so now maybe we should, given that we are an hour in, maybe we should turn to the interviews.
Mm-hmm.
So the interviews that we're going to talk about are all, well, they're largely Kobametal related. The main one is the one that I mentioned at the beginning, a long interview in Hedoban 24 with Kobametal. And there's actually also in that same issue, I'm not sure who wrote it. Actually, it was supposed to be written at the direction of the editor-in-chief, which is basically a deep dive into Dada dance itself. It's called The Charm and Magic of Dada Dance, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that. And then the only other thing is that there's this sort of like serialized essay from Kobametal in Da Vinci News, which is I think that's related to PMC. It's a some similar outlet, and we've gotten 2 more parts of that. We talked about the one that had to do with fashion and whatever it was, performing even in inconvenient clothing. But but there are 2 more parts that we can talk about a little bit too.
Mm-hmm. So quite interesting, actually. I gazed over it and I was like, oh, okay.
Those are one thing that's interesting about those is that they're actually, as far as I understand it, they're him writing. It's not somebody interviewing him and transcribing what he says. Mm-hmm. It's actually his essays broken up. So, but and then after after today, there's still a bunch of interviews coming up. So we have a long interview with Sumetal and Mometal from that same Hedoban 24 issue that will be discussed in the future, and we're expecting to hear more from Kobametal, translated from the Katakawa volume. There's a translation of an interview from Young Guitar with Sumetal and Mometal coming, and a couple of older ones. So there's a ton of stuff to talk about. I think we're going to get to those next ones it'll be a while. So next time maybe I'll say this again at the end. But next time we're going to have Funny Toss on, Stephen, who's going to talk with us about the process of translation. So that'll be really interesting. And then the time after that is going to be what? Oh, it's going to be right after the live stream. So we're presumably going to talk about that. So, and then the time after that, we'll get back to all these interviews. But and who knows? There's going to be like 3 times as many by then, no doubt. But okay, so now, why doesn't somebody pick a moment from an interview, and we can talk about whichever one that you want to do.
All right. Actually, for the Dada Dance overview, apparently at some point in time, they had put a sample of a woo in the song, and I didn't realize, I didn't know the history behind that whole entire thing, because it's actually something that has been sampled for in many, many years in the past. And I was kind of curious because I read the interview. I read the Hedoban interview with Koba, and then I went and read the thing for the Dada Dance stuff, and I saw that, and so apparently that was something that was in a gospel, a lady who did gospel music and stuff, and it was at the end of one of her songs, and then it had also been sampled in a lot of other dance music, which obviously Dada Dance is very, if anyone is familiar with the game Dance Dance Revolution, totally reminded me of something that would have been in that game. I totally probably would have played it. So they were talking about this sampling in there, and they also mentioned a group called 2 Unlimited, which I loved 2 Unlimited when I was a little kid. They were super awesome. They were very dance and stuff. Their famous one is Get Ready for This, but I don't know if anybody actually knows it or not. But that's their most famous one. But they also had another song that they released, which was not as famous, but or at least I knew of the song, and it was called Twilight Zone. And that was sampled in the song. And so I was like, wait a second. So I actually pulled up Dada Dance, and I pulled up Twilight Zone, and I played them both. And it is literally the same sampling. And I was like, that is super, super cool that they pulled something like that from. I was just like, that's really neat.
Yeah.
But I thought that was really, really cool of them, because I guess with the Dada Dance being the type of song that it is, which that went into a whole, the article went into a whole entire slew with that, with the type of song that it is, which is dance metal, which I personally enjoy. That whole entire correlation was just really, really cool to me. I thought it was so neat. But yeah, so that was a really cool little unexpected excitement that I had with the article.
Yeah, I think so. I read the Kobametal interview first, like you did, and it's kind of hilarious. We'll get to that, but it is hilarious the degree to which the whole first third of the thing is the editor in chief just can't stop talking about Dada Dance. It's clearly had a huge impact on him, and it does turn out that it is really quite deep. But yeah, this so from what I understood, at least from reading this, that woo sample was basically everywhere. I mean, so people of a certain age, who were sort of listening to music at a certain time, this immediately evokes that era. I mean, this was a very, very particular thing. So even though
late 80s, early 90s, yeah, that type of dance music.
But so I think it has a little bit of the same character as the the Hallelujah Break or the Wilhelm Scream or whatever. It's a little thing that everybody includes. And so I think they mentioned that so 2 Unlimited is a Dutch dance unit apparently, but they were the second ones to use it. Someone else, House of Venus, took it first. So I'm not sure what it is about the Netherlands in this sample, but because the sample itself came from Tremaine Hawkins in 1986, but it got sampled in Dutch, and the Twilight Zone made it to Japan,
Mm-hmm.
and was sort of in the consciousness of somebody, Tetsuya Komuro, when he formed Globe, and that's the thing. Let's see, that made it into Juliana Techno's "Can't Undo This" song, and then "Easy to Dance" finally by TRF. But I mean, like, so at the time, at that TRF time that is clearly being referenced here, it was everywhere, and people heard the woo in many different songs, and so hearing it again, in 2019, was impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of like early, like I said, late 80s, early 90s was very much the time of Eurodance, I guess would be the term for that. It was really popular back then.
They do talk about in this interview. They talk about this being, I mean, like, that it's sort of a conscious, like many of their songs. They're sort of like taking a style and kind of like riffing on it. But so this one is a very consciously Avex style, and Avex is something like sort of like a studio or a producer of content, that had a particular style that sort of permeated the dance scene at the time, and so this was really recalling, this is a song in that style. And there was a funny thing of I guess this is actually in the other interview, but they talk a little bit about the rap stuff that Mometal sings, where essentially she's just like listing off TRF songs. And so "Easy to Dance," "Overnight Sensation," "Boy Meets Girl," "Survival Dance," and then they also mentioned this debut single of Globe, "Feel Like Dance." That was the only one that it wasn't a TRF song, I think, in there. And in the other interview, they called it sort of awkward rapping, if I remember right.
Yeah.
My biggest takeaway from reading these is how committed to deep cuts he is, and that's a theme, I think, every time we hear about the creation and formation of songs and music. Is, okay, what can I steal from when I was younger that was popular in the 80s and 90s?
Mm-hmm. But still updated,
because you see it everywhere. Yeah, but updated. But the reference is there enough for people to get it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I guess maybe the right people to get it, because I don't usually get it.
Right. Well, it was interesting. They talked a fair amount also about Taka Matsumoto, and his, like, how fitting it is that he's the one that's doing the song. I mean, like, because he really is. He was there in the original time. He really is kind of a bridge between this dance and
a bit of an inspiration. Yeah.
Music. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even though he's in there for 20 seconds or something, it was an important 20 seconds.
As being important as he is, his time in there was so wasted. Or something along those lines.
Yeah, in the Kobametal interview, there is this. I think this happens a couple times where the editor in chief, who's doing the interview, talks about how someone's talents are wasted, but it's meant in a positive way. It's sort of like, it's so great that they were able to participate in this, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It's like should have been more of them in the song, sort of thing.
I think it is more a positive thing. Like I think, like, it's almost impressive that they weren't used more, in a sense. Like, you used them just that little bit, and I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
It's an interesting concept that I didn't quite get. Although the translator's notes in there, they do try to clarify that a bit.
Right.
All right. Kevin, did you have any things you wanted to highlight?
First of all, we're getting this pretty late. This interview was pre-release of Metal Galaxy. Mm-hmm. So really the interesting stuff to me was just learning how some of the tracks on Metal Galaxy are old. Night Night Burn has been around since Megatsune, which we've known, and I find that interesting. And that the flamenco, the Latin feel, was a late addition or a modern addition, so it didn't exist when the song was originally conceived around the time of Megatsune, which really leads me to wonder what it sounded like without that. I would love to hear a reimagining or like an original take on that song before it got the flamenco feel.
Yeah,
it would be kind of cool.
Especially knowing that it came around during the formation of the first album, because it would be cool to kind of revisit that style. Um, they talked a lot about the concept for Metal Galaxy and how, Metal Resistance was kind of a Baby Metal spin on subgenres of metal. And for this one, after touring the world and getting around and seeing a lot of different stuff, how they wanted the vision for Metal Galaxy was more not so much the subgenres of metal, but I don't know, worldly music, different styles from around the world to incorporate in a Baby Metal style. And it wasn't a whole bunch of stuff that we hadn't heard before. But I do enjoy reading Kobametal interviews, because you do get those little nuggets of insight that I really think are fun to talk about.
I thought it was sort of interesting that, like, we were talking about how, it was the Latin flamenco feel was only sort of a recent addition. Recent is in a very relative way. So he said, it's only in the last few years that I added the Latin feel.
Right.
Like, this is a really old song.
Yeah.
If years ago is a recent addition.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they do say something somewhere in here too about the fact that there are a number of other songs out there that they have sort of skeletons for, and even some that they recorded and didn't put on the album.
Right.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I found cool too, because someone had mentioned this a while back that, also it was one of the songs that was mentioned was Shine. And they had that like forever ago, but nobody realized it until the song was really, properly released. Because they did actually use Shine, even though technically so was in the name of, obviously we all know that, but Shine was used as a piano backing to Sue's speech prior to performing to the one. So it's just like, we didn't know that was that piano backing became the song we know now as Shine. And it's just that whole entire, I guess, is like, you kind of wonder, like, all the different musicalities and stuff that's used in all the, the videos and the backings and the live shows and stuff. Like, what is something that they've been, writing up to become a new song? It's kind of wild to think about, that any of that could be a new Baby Metal song in the near future. So that's really, really cool to me.
That is an interesting thing to think of. I hadn't considered, next time we're doing live stuff is to pay attention to music and themes behind lore and videos and things that are playing, because it might show up as a song someday.
Exactly. That, like I said, the Shine was just the one that I could point out, but there may have been others in the past. I don't know. I've not really delved into too much, but now ever since ever since that was pointed out to me, I do kind of, listen in a little bit more and, keep my ear out if it's like some new. I know there was, what was that? Something recently was released and people were kind of like, oh, it was the shop show.
Yeah.
They had that opening theme to the shop show. A lot of people were kind of going crazy about that, because they were just like, oh, that is so cool. That sounds like a neat, like, cool future Baby Metal song or something along those lines. So, it's always a possibility on that too. Who knows? But it could potentially just move into nothing. Who knows? But it's still really neat.
I know that I had a pretty strong negative reaction to that idea, because it sounded dumb to me. I really hope they don't turn it into a song, because it just didn't sound like anything. It was somebody playing on practice scales on a guitar.
It did sound like a shop channel opening theme to me. It really did, but it was still kind of cool at the same time. But it definitely sounded like it was supposed to be a opening theme to a shop channel. So I don't know.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I have this feeling that I probably complained about it before too. That it really felt like opening to like some kind of sports show or some kind of thing.
And that's what it was supposed to be.
Yeah. But
yeah.
So let's see. Another thing that was interesting. There was some discussion in this interview about just sort of collaborating with people and stuff like that. And the interviewer was talking about getting the people from Polyphia and getting F Hero and Tak Matsumoto to participate, and it was interesting actually because there was when I'm trying to find the name here in the interview, it's not Polyphia. There's somebody else that Koba continues to talk about over and over again about that was being sort of intricate, interesting guitar stuff, and then and it sounds like it sort of sounds like Polyphia but isn't. It's
Yeah,
like
there's two. There's actually, I made note of that because I was really excited at the fact that they even mentioned it. One of them, you're probably thinking of Periphery.
that's it. Yes.
He mentioned Periphery a few times, which they're also really good. But I was really excited at the fact that he mentioned Animals as Leaders because they are really really cool. A friend of mine introduced me to them a few years back, and all they do is instrumental. Like it's no lyrics, no nothing. It is strictly instrumental. Just a good 4 minutes of just awesome per song. And they've had a few albums out too. And I know I have one of them in the car right now, but they're really good. So I was really excited to see that he mentioned Animals as Leaders in there too, because they're pretty awesome. And they're in the kind of the same way as like Polyphia and Periphery. You have that. And I don't know what the style would be considered, but it's all like that same sort of style. But I do recommend Animals as Leaders for sure. So,
but he says, I guess so we're not right now. We're talking about Brand New Day mainly, but Koba says, as for the instrumentals, I was thinking of young bands with excellent guitar work. Periphery is somewhat similar to Polyphia that I mentioned earlier. They're extremely intelligent. Also, there's Animals as Leaders, and there's a lot of bands coming out like that now. I play the guitar myself, so I'm attracted to the kinds of bands I just mentioned. Somewhere he also said that, like young guitarists will like these people. But one of the things that I was going to say was that it sounded a little bit like he kind of wished it was Periphery that, that they collaborated with, but they wound up with Polyphia instead.
Which was kind of also maybe slightly explain why he really invited Galactic Empire to perform for them too, because they're kind of like that. They just play music. They don't sing. They don't do all that. They just play music. So that might explain why he invited them to do the show and then potentially became our new or part of our new Western commie band as well. It might explain a thing.
But anyway, the thing that I was going to say, I guess, was that they talked a little bit about they're sort of constructed ahead of time, so the Brand New Day was already sort of composed in the style of Polyphia. And then they got to the end and said, all right, well, now that this is so much in the style of Polyphia, let's see if we can get the Polyphia people to actually play it. And I think that was kind of true for everybody. I mean, like, so when they talked to Matsumoto, they'd already sort of had a song that was perfect for him, and for Polyphia they had a song that was perfect for them, and it seems like, I mean, who knows if this is actually true, but it kind of seems like everybody Koba asked through the contact form on their website said yes, right?
That's so wild to me. I need to just interject that he just uses people's contacts forms.
Yeah, I know.
By the way, we have a contact form on our website.
That's right. And if you want to,
if you're out there,
collaborate.
We're welcome to collaborate.
Yeah. Have him. That would be nuts to have him on here. Oh my gosh. That'd be crazy.
We're open to it.
I mean, that would be cool. Oh man, you'd believe that? That would be like our most listened podcast. I don't know. It'd be crazy. Anyway.
But yeah, I think, Koba was thinking, or expressing the idea that maybe it was because there was this sort of like clear sincerity that it wasn't really just, we're trying to get a famous name attached to the song just for the splash value, but actually this is crafted to be perfectly suitable for you. And it seemed like everybody kind of understood that.
Agreed. Yeah.
Is why they came onto it. So like, the other one that, this came up with was Alyssa White Glue's when in Distortion. He said Koba was saying that he thought it would be good if the girls were female, but couldn't really imagine Sue doing them. so he looked around for somebody who would be appropriate for that.
Mm-hmm. And I know he had mentioned that he was a fan of Arch Enemy?
Yeah.
Okay, Arch Enemy. I have my own opinions where I think Tatiana from Ginger would have been top notch for that, but that's just me. She does a really awesome job of being able to transfer her voice from being the growls to her natural singing voice. She is fantastic. And I get to see them in November. I'm so excited.
Ooh, live shows.
Yes, live shows are back, y'all. This is great.
That's awesome.
Albeit it's a few months down the road, but still, this is great. So this is another band to suggest is Ginger. They're great. But it would have been cool to see her on that. Man, it would have been awesome. I don't know. But that's just my opinion. Sorry. Another daily rant with Maggie.
Any
other moments anyone wants to pick?
I'm glad that he brought up Ghost, because he did bring that up, that because I always see the correlation between Ghost and Babymetal being a lot the same. They have a story. There's a lot of like, you don't kind of know what's going on, but you're kind of along for the ride sort of thing. And Ghost is one of those bands where you kind of have to see them live to be able to get the full like picture. I mean, Babymetal's sort of the same way. And I guess at one point he did actually get to talk to some of the touring band members, because secret's out, but the touring band is never the same, kind of like Babymetal. The only
of course the comic band for Babymetal is usually the same though.
Well, it's usually the same, but now we've got like the Western and Eastern, and sometimes people are replacing each other, you know. But I liked him bringing up like the comparison of, you know, they're very, you know, you got to see it live to be able to get the full picture of them. So, because I had always thought about that in regard as well, that Ghost is like Babymetal. They're just from, you know, Sweden, actually.
Are they?
Yeah.
What is it? What is it? Koba seems to have a very deep respect for the Swedish metal scene, apparently, because everybody's from Sweden. Sabaton, Avatar.
Yeah.
There was somebody else too. But I mean, so Ghost also.
Yeah, Ghost is from Sweden as well. And it's also one of those things too where, and he had mentioned it in the interview as well, that Tobias Forge, who's also the lead singer, but he is also the one who produces all the songs. He comes up with all the, you know, the lyrics. He comes up with the music. And I've delved into interviews with him before where, you know, he has specific people who are in the studio that records the music for in the studio. And then when he's going out on tour, he has a totally different set of people that go out on tour with him that are not the same people that recorded in studio, which, who does that sound like? Babymetal. So that they have a lot of correlation in between the two. And it was really neat to have saw that he, you know, Koba had the opportunity to speak with, he said some of the touring bands. So I don't know if he specifically talked to Tobias at all, but he it was really cool that he was like, I find this really fascinating, and you know, I've seen them a few times. You know, I can't remember where it was. It was like they had Summer Sonic was one of them, Download Japan, I think, which I didn't even know they were at Download Japan. Or either that or I did and I just forgot because I wasn't there. But he's like, yeah, I've seen them perform a few times, and it's really cool because, you know, they get it. It's like, I'm not crazy for coming up with the same idea. You know, they get the same, you know, they have the same idea too. It's the same kind of concept, but he's like, I've got a good, you know, respect for that. And I'm like, that is so neat.
There are kind of parallels in the imagery and the when the commie band became actually masked, that parallel became you know, sort of closer.
Yeah, well, that's true. Definitely at that point, yeah.
But it's quite possible that it was for a very similar reason. You know, like if you want to maintain this idea, if you don't want to make it obvious that the people are changing all the time, then you hide them.
Right. Well, yeah.
But
which, I mean, most of us, I think most of the people that have been longtime fans of the group don't necessarily are not super phased by that, because I mean, it's not like we don't know who's been replacing who, and it's not like we can't identify who they are by the guitars that they're playing. So it's like, oh hey,
in
Sal's
Ghost,
playing, or not in Ghost. No, I'm talking about in Baby Metal,
yeah,
but no, in Ghost, you have almost zero clue who is behind those masks, except for the fact of if they're male or if they're female, because there's the nameless ghouls, and then there's the nameless ghoulettes, which I know one of them plays the keytar and keyboard, and then the other one also, I believe, plays keyboard. I think, I can't remember. It's been so long, but yeah.
there was a chunk here at the sort of end of the Kobametal interview where we talked. I talked a fair bit about kind of like the theater of pro wrestling. Which, I mean, like, he clearly gets a lot of kind of inspiration from this, sort of talked about the sort of the whole idea of, I don't think this term was used, but willing suspension of disbelief. Like essentially, you go in there, everybody knows what's going on, but you pretend you don't, because that's part of the fun. Yeah. So even though everybody knows who everybody is, it's shocking when somebody in character reveals the identity of some other character, even though everybody knew who it was.
Right.
That kind of thing. Well, actually, he also mentioned this was all these things are kind of mixed together, but he was talking a little bit about Evangelion, and how when that was a thing, there's a certain mysteriousness to it. Like not everything is explained, and
true. Good gracious, is that true?
and and he was saying, like, at the time when that was current, there wasn't this sort of instant access to all kinds of feedback, and everybody getting the actual answer from the actual creator and stuff. So everybody would interpret it in their own way, and they would talk about it at school or at work or whatever. And
very true.
That was something he values. So he likes to leave mystery open. That it's not, if there is an answer, he doesn't want to just give it. He wants to get participation from the audience and interpreting things. But the other thing that was kind of funny was that he actually did also say that, okay, so he was asked, how would you like people to enjoy Metal Galaxy? And he says, over the past 3.5 years, both the member and the project itself have evolved in many ways. I hope people will enjoy the new things. I'm sure there will be both pros and cons. I'm sure there will be controversy, and I think that's part of what makes pro wrestling what it is as well. So I'm fine playing the character of a villainous manager like KY Wakamatsu. And I think that is perfect. I mean, like that. In a sense, that is exactly the character he's been playing. And that's the character that the fan base has been playing along with.
Yeah,
that's very accurate.
so I thought it was a sort of a moment of awareness. Like he knows what's going on, just like everybody else does.
Yeah.
There was one other thing, albeit it's not in the Hedoban one. It was in the serializations, but I thought it was really cool. That, because note, I'm not much of a drinker. I don't really drink. I do, but not. I don't drink beer. That's to each their own on that record. But I thought it was actually really cool in the serialization that he mentions that metal is a lot like beer. Like, beer is beer, but then you have all these like different variations, releases of, seasonal types. You've got your independent beer makers out there who do their own specialized thing, but the very basis of it is beer. You've got your time that you make it. It depends on who makes it, that sort of thing. But it all it's all this, it's beer. And he's like, metal is a lot like beer, where, there's a certain, thing that you kind of follow, but then you take it and you experiment with it, you do different things with it, but you understand that it is still metal music in its, in its form. So I thought that was kind of a cool, funny. Toss had mentioned it's an analogy in the chat, a really good analogy. And I was just like, I kind of, like I said, me not being a beer drinker, you would think I would totally go over my head, but I used to know people that
You've been around.
I've been around, so it's like I know a bit about it. So I was just like, okay, all right, I see the correlation there. That's kind of cool. It's really neat. That was just one of those things.
I think so. That's kind of at the end of the third part, but it sort of feels like it fits more with the theme of the second one, which is essentially the power to continue. Is I think how he phrased it. But it was, he made analogies to like religion, where like there's a sort of a tradition and there's a kind of a thing that you go back to. There's a kind of comfort. What did he say? It has a mental relief or something that you get from just sort of the tradition of it, and that is the thing that kind of has the longevity to survive. I mean, like that you make sort of a brand that is designed to continue rather than a brand that is designed to just like make a lot of money right now. Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And so in that sense, that sounds a little bit like what he was saying with beer. Like beer has had staying power. Like there's always beer. I mean, like there are little variations on it, and
there will always be beer.
Yeah,
exactly.
You define your version of beer off of the basic form of beer. Like everything is defined as a variation from the core that continues, right?
And, exactly.
And I think that's what he was. I think trying to promote that as metal being like that. Like there is a core thing that everyone will uncontroversially call metal, and then there are all these things that are sort of playing off of that and aren't that, but they're they occasionally check back in with it. Yeah, it's interesting. The things that are written by Koba himself are a little hard to grasp in certain ways, but it is also interesting too. Yes, yeah, so I guess that second one was really about this thing I was just talking about, the sort of power to continue. And then the third one, although it ended with this beer thing, it I think the theme of it was kind of like metal is something that you don't do kind of halfway or in passing. That that sort of differentiates it from other forms of maybe art, but also music. That he was talking about imagine a festival scenario where you're like you go to a festival and you plan to see a bunch of different things, and so this thing is on stage A, and then you have to get over to stage B for the other thing, and as you travel you might pass by something and watch that in between, even though you're trying to get from A to B, like there was some time in between and there was someone on the stage. And I think what Kobo was saying here was essentially that that like metal is not the kind of thing that you watch on your way to A to B. Like the people who went to the metal thing, they intended to go to the metal thing, and the people who did not intend to go to the metal thing, did not stop.
Right.
So what it leads to is kind of like a even more energized, even more focused audience. That's I think you called it hotter.
That's true. Yeah.
Anyway, as I try to explain this, I realize I understand it less and less. So I don't know. Read it and interpret it yourself, I suppose. Let's see. Is there anything else that I wanted to? I mean, we are really talking about just tiny little fragments of stuff that's in here. I mean, like there is a lot of stuff that's interesting in here that we haven't talked about. But
the articles in themselves was really cool to read. I mean, there is a lot in there.
One thing that was in the Koba metal interview that I think I kind of knew this before. Maybe we even talked about it before. But he sort of confirmed that Metal Galaxy is it's constructed. Well, there were two things. First of all, it's constructed as a 2-album thing, partly because Japan is still obsessed with physical media, so it makes sense to have 2 discs in Japan, and abroad it's all digital streaming, and so the abroad version of it was actually sort of designed. This may be post hoc rationalization, but at any rate, it was designed to be a coherent single thing. So therefore, you have to leave out, BMC. But
BMC and BBAB.
yeah. So I don't know. I'm not sure I quite buy that rationalization. But at any rate, there was at least this concept of a 2 album set makes sense in a physical medium in a way that it doesn't in a streaming one. But the other thing is that he kind of confirmed that it is constructed in a parallel way. Like the songs on the disc correspond to each other. The song 1 on disc 1 corresponds to song 1 on disc 2, and so forth down the list. He says he said it was set up like a sumo wrestling chart.
Right.
So there are some parallels between the things across the discs as well. I mean, even if it's not super obvious, it kind of felt like that anyway, but it was intentional apparently.
That just makes me want to kind of like play one after the other, like playing Future Metal and then In the Name of, and then was it Dada Dance and Distortion? I mean, they are kind of two totally different things.
Yeah, that was another thing that came up a couple times in the interview. Like the editor-in-chief clearly believes that Dada Dance is the first song on this album, and Kobametal clearly believes that it's Future Metal, and they just keep talking past each other. It's like, but what else? Oh, well, one other thing I think this also we mentioned before was that unlike previous albums, there's a large part of Metal Galaxy that was constructed actually in sort of a Bandcamp scenario where they were all like together on a retreat with guitars playing around with ideas. Like Koba would say, like, let's work on something with this kind of theme, and then everybody would provide ideas and they'd talk about it in a way that's much more interactive than any of the prior work. Which is interesting because so I do think a lot of times people complain about how inorganic sometimes the music might be, but it does seem like Metal Galaxy, in many respects, is less inorganic in that way.
Exactly. Right. I mean, there's really not a whole lot that sounds the same on Metal Galaxy either. Like every song is very specific. Like I don't know. I mean, I guess you could say that technically for like the first album, the second album, although the second album is although I think he mentioned it somewhere in the article before, Metal Resistance was more meant to take, the like metal and then, tweak it up, and so a lot of it does sound the straight, very, very, very heavy, more on the metal side of things. Whereas, Metal Galaxy is a little bit more, I don't want to say all over the place, but like it's definitely a little more obvious that I don't even know how to properly explain it. Like it is each song is very individualized. And he even mentions like Brand New Day. It's very pop, although he called it like city pop or something. But it still has a very underlying metal sound to it once you start breaking it apart.
So I know there was one thing I wanted to say, with respect to Metal Galaxy being all over the place. Koba did actually say something kind of about that it's not like we're going necessarily in a certain direction. We're constantly swinging back and forth like a pendulum to keep the whole thing balanced. So that it isn't actually all over the place. It's kind of strategically around the place.
Right.
That's probably the better way of putting it. Yes. But it still sounds cool.
Yeah. The thing with the city pop thing, maybe we'll actually talk with Funny Toss about that next time. But that there's a very weird aspect to that where they were talking about Brand New Day having a city pop feel to it, but then they very deliberately avoided naming the band that it sounds like.
Right.
Like I don't understand what it was. But I mean, so the capable paramedic, I think, that has worked with Funny Toss on these translations had a guess as to who they mean, but I don't understand why it's so secretive. it's very odd. But anyway, we can maybe talk about that some other point. And then I guess the other thing too is that they were talking a little bit about touring around the basically like. They would like to tour more internationally, and when they talked about this together as a group, Koba said that okay, let's see. He said, we would indeed like to visit countries we've never been to before. I've talked about it a lot with the girls. And their response was, it's nicer to tour where it's warm. So let's follow the sun, which I thought was very nice. Yeah.
It's funny.
Anyway, I wanted to just get that in because I suspect that we won't come back to that, but I thought it was fairly amusing.
Yeah, the actual beach tour.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, okay. So this has been going on for quite some time. So I think we can probably leave this little set of interviews here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree.
We've been saying yes. We've been saying that for 25 minutes. So yeah. So next time we'll talk about the process of translation and some of the challenges that these have provided, and sort of how that's worked. That's made it possible for us to talk about these interviews, and then the time after that, we will talk about the live stream, and then we will come back to the interviews.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. So thanks everybody in the chat for joining along, or following along, or whatever it is you do along.
Tag along.
So, yep. So that's it for this episode. You can join us on the Baby Metal Podcast Discord to continue the conversation. Rating the podcast on whatever platform you listen on will help people find it, so please do that. We'll be back here in about 2 weeks. We hope you'll join us then. And until then, see you.